Welcome back to Heart, a KDF youth podcast, and we're your hosts. I'm Cindy,
I'm Grace.
I'm Anya.
and today we're talking about something really important, what Kawasaki disease actually is.
So, we talked about our personal stories in the last episode, but this episode we kind of wanted to go deeper into the symptoms and treatment options and deeper into what Kawasaki disease actually is.
So, whether you're a parent listening, a survivor, or someone just curious, I hope this makes Katie a lot less scary and understandable.
Yeah, so jumping into the definition of Kawasaki disease, it's an inflammatory condition that mostly affects young children. So it causes inflammation in their blood vessels, and if it's not treated early, it can affect the heart.
Yeah, and even though the cause isn't fully known, the good thing is that there is treatment, and if treated early, KD usually doesn't lead to major problems down the line.
Wait, should
Although
we
the
just
cause isn't really known, are there any theories that exist already?
Oh yeah, like infectious triggers, genetics, and a lot of other things.
Okay, should we discuss like some of the classic symptoms that doctors look for?
Yeah, there's a little list that doctors memorize. Fevers for 5 days or more, cracked red lips, a rash, swollen hands and feet, red eyes without discharge, and strawberry tongue. Those are basically all the exact symptoms I had when I had KD.
Yeah, those are also the symptoms I had. And a few days ago, actually, I was on an EMT shift, and there was a girl, a 3-year-old girl who had those exact symptoms. And obviously, I'm not a doctor, so I can't say like you have Kawasaki, but I just told their family, like when we brought them to the hospital, to just check in and like mention that as a possibility because it was kind of crazy how it fit like all of the symptoms.
Wow, that's really cool.
When your guys' parents told you the story, did they tell you like what symptoms they were the most scared about?
Probably for me, it was both like the fever that lasted a really long time and also the rashes I had all over my body. So they probably guessed it was some other condition. They didn't know it was Kawasaki disease until I had to be admitted into the hospital. So luckily, I had early treatment. So I'm very lucky for that.
I think for me, the strawberry tongue was the most scariest symptom for my parents because it's one of the more clear symptoms for Kawasaki. Okay, so let's talk treatment, IVIG. So what is IVIG?
So IVIG stands for intravenous immunoglobulin, and obviously intravenous means it's being entered into your body through the veins. And immunoglobulin is basically a special kind of medicine made from antibodies, which already exist in your blood and fight off antigens and diseases. And it's infused into your blood from donated blood, and it helps protect your heart and reduce inflammation.
So did we all get that treatment, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nice, because I remember I kind of told this in the last episode as well, but since during that time in Vietnam, it was a bit hard to get, so luckily that my hospital was able to get their hands on it, or else it would have been bad, but it's very lucky that we all got treatment and am now basically healthy.
Do you think being in Vietnam like changed your Kawasaki journey differently than if you were in the US?
Well, yes, because during that time it was a bit harder because in Vietnam, most people didn't really talk about it. So I guess it's kind of similar to the US as well. But during that time, I had to get like regular heart checkups, right? But after, essentially, it's not being in Vietnam that kind of changed it, but moving to the US kind of changed my journey because I had to move hospitals and had to re-explain everything. So it was a bit more complicated to get heart checkups and things like that. But aside from that, it's been okay.
yeah, I think it's also really interesting to note that Kawasaki disease is more common in Asian individuals, and that's why it was also like founded in or explained by Tomisaku Kawasaki, who lived in Japan at that time.
So with IVIG. most kids respond to it really well within 24 hours, right?
Yeah, fevers drop really quickly, and once it's administered, long-term heart complication risk goes down a lot.
So what was your guys' recovery story after Kawasaki?
I think my recovery was pretty smooth. Like I was in bed for a while, but then afterwards I had to do checkups every year, I think, but then now it's every 5 years because they didn't really see any major problems with my heart. But yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's like the same as mine.
my journey was very similar to yours, except I got checked maybe with 6 years in between, and I do have to tell my doctor that that is something to look out for because Kawasaki disease can come back. A relevant question for us, since we're all high school juniors, is do you think Katie shaped you at how you look at healthcare or goals in your career?
Yeah, so for me personally, with Kawasaki disease and also having a lot of other interests in the healthcare industry, I do want to go into the healthcare industry and really focus on the management and administration itself. And I'm very interested in the intersection between business and healthcare. So with all my symptoms and then growing up having some health complications, I really want to give back to other people and spread awareness to all different kinds of things like Kawasaki disease, and that's some of my future goals.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I also want to go into the healthcare industry, I think, and knowing I was diagnosed with KD when I was younger is definitely like a big thing, and it might influence me going into pediatrics possibly, and because I want to give back to other families who are obviously panicking about such a rare disease and they don't really know much. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm really interested in science, so I'd like to explore more about cardiology.
So, what part of KD do you think people should understand more about and should be more conscious about?
Personally, for all the parents that find out that their kid has Kawasaki disease or sees some of their symptoms, I think people need to realize that time in diagnosis and treatment is really crucial for KD because that determines how long their future heart complications may be or how fast they can recover.
Yeah, I agree with that. And sometimes families with their other situations might put it back. If they saw their kid being sick with the symptoms, they might be too busy to really get it checked out at the hospital. So I definitely agree.
How do you guys think Kawasaki awareness has changed since you were diagnosed?
Well, when I was diagnosed, I was just a few years old, and it was like 2011, 2012. And I think since then, the internet has developed. And I also found out about Kawasaki Disease Foundation through social media and their website. So I think through these internet resources, and since everyone's on the internet, I think awareness has gone up, which is really good.
Yeah, I agree. I also found the Kawasaki Disease Foundation through the internet, and I think it's a really cool opportunity for us all to really bring our efforts together and spread awareness about Kawasaki disease. And so, definitely with the times changing, more people are aware, the technology, the healthcare systems are getting better. So, I think it's great.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I also found the foundation on social media. And also at my school, I lead like our healthcare club, and I mentioned Kawasaki disease in like an announcement we were giving to raise money. And like after that, a few days later, like people would come up to me and be like, "Oh my gosh, like I had Kawasaki." And I'm like, "Wow, I thought it was like more uncommon."
Wow, I've never actually met someone in person that had Kawasaki disease. So
So, the main thing we really want people to take away from this whole episode is that we want people to know that KD is definitely treatable and kids can definitely lead full and healthy lives. So,
Early diagnosis is so crucial, so awareness matters a lot.
Yeah, and if you're a family going through Kawasaki disease right now, we hope that you don't feel alone and you know that there's such a big network of people who are there to support you.
Anyways, thank you for joining us for episode 2 on Heart to Heart.
and if you have any questions you want us to answer in a future episode, feel free to send them to KDF Youth.
And don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel, and you can also follow us on Instagram on at KDF Youth and share this video so you can help um, more families find us.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.